Did you like that? Yeah, okay. All right, here's the software modification. Start, still at the top. Low 1, low 2. What happens? Both off. If pin 3 equals 1, then start. It's English. If pin 3, that's that guy we were connected to, has voltage on it. Remember, 1 is voltage. You ever see a lamp has a 1 and a 0, or a computer even? Turn it on with 1, right? If it has voltage on it, then start. What's that mean? If it has something other than 1 on it, it'll fall to here, and we know what this does, right? Let's try to program the other one and see what happens. La ta ta ti ti. I will risk life and limb, and I will hold it up this time. You got it? I don't know how much wire you have. Okay, we need program 3, which is here, and that's here. It's programming, and it should do nothing unless I have it wired incorrectly. Blinking? Ah, thank you. Push button. And how long should it blink? Should blink 10 times, 10 toggles back and forth and stop. Are we finally getting something useful? Could you use that when your train goes by? You know what a reed switch is. Put a reed switch on the track, put a magnet on the engine, hook it up to that. Every time the train goes by, the blinky blinky goes for 10 times. What if you wanted 100 times? You'd change that to 100. What if you wanted 1,000? You can't change it to 1,000. You weren't paying attention. A byte variable can only go from 0 to 255. If you put 1,000 in there, bad things will happen. If you want to go above 255, you have to use something called a word variable. A word variable will go to 2 to the 16th, which is 65,200 and whatever it is. What I'm trying to say to you, you have to pay attention to the details. It will bite you. That's why you have my email. You emailed me the program and said, Dave, how come this doesn't work? Because you need a word variable in there. Okay.
So the bytes can bite.
The bytes can bite, and there's also bits. You got bits, bytes, and words. Okay. You know what I'm going to do, because this is so much fun. Let me see. How do I do that? Give me a second here, because this is cool. If I can get it to work. Ah. That's that simulate. What's it doing? It's waiting for that bit to change. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to hit this number 3. Watch. And it's going real slowly, by the way, because it takes a while. It wants to let you. But it's going to go 10 times. And then it's going to go back up there and go. Isn't that cool? I like it. I like it. Okay. But then again, I'm easy. All right. Let me go back to my slides. What if we put a second sensor on? We're going to run out of pins soon, aren't we? Yes. What if we put a second sensor so that the light goes on when you hit the first sensor and goes off when you hit the second sensor? Again, are we getting some things that are a bit more productive? Okay. I have to admit the software gets a little tougher. Let me explain why. You want to write it so it doesn't matter which way the train's going, right? And if the train's going this way, you have to remember that it hits switch 1. And then when you continue to look, you have to look at the second switch and only pay attention to it if switch 1 was hit. But if switch 1 wasn't hit and switch 1 gets hit again, you ignore it. Make sense? So that's, and I'm not going to go through. This is all on, this will be on my webpage so that you can look at it yourself. But I store some things here that keep track of which switch was hit. Let's do that. I have that already done. And it's here. And here. And here. Maybe I need an hour before we start.
Have to pay attention to switch bounds?
Good. Ooh, you're a ringer. No. I throw that in. I throw some pauses in. But actually, in this case, it doesn't matter. So he asked, do you have to pay attention to switch bounce? Switch bounce is, when you hit a switch once, you actually hit it many times. It'll make and break the contacts, almost like a ringing of a bell. But because this thing latches like that, you don't. In many cases, do you have to? Yeah. And I think, if I'm not mistaken...
Don't they have a word for that?
Switch bounce.
Command, they have a command for that bounce?
I'm trying to remember if the pickaxe has a debounce built into it. I don't think it does.
The 8 don't.
Yeah, a lot of times people would also do it with a capacitor. But yeah, that's an issue. If you're doing something and trying to count button pushes, you better put a pause in after each count to let it, unring. Okay, let me show you what we got here. Yeah, this is kind of messy, but that's okay. I'm a messy kind of guy at times. Could you hold that? We got 2 buttons, which could be reed switches, right? Okay, we'll let those dangle. We have a light. And this light is very sophisticated because it's on a string. It's long. Okay.
And those pins have polarity, I'm assuming, correct?
Say again?
The pins have a polarity, correct?
On this, no.
Oh, it doesn't matter?
On this, it doesn't, because it only mattered that this bulb starts to blink before that bulb. And I need some power. And that I need... This will work?
But then you need polarity on your programming pins, correct?
Your programming pins matter. Oh, yes. Bad things happen if you switch those around. Okay. Tell you what, push a button. Blinking. Push the other button. Stopping. Push a button. Push the same button. See, nothing. Push the other button. Now, there's a couple things going on here. That software is a bit more complicated. The other thing you may notice, those are Lionel 12-volt incandescent red light bulbs. Go ahead, light them up. And that'll blink forever, until you hit the button again. You can't do that. If you connect a 12-volt Lionel incandescent light bulb to a pin on a pickaxe, you'll fry it. So you'll have a chance to look at this later on. I'll be over at the large-scale online booth, but there are 2 big transistors that are actually driving the bulbs. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I'm cheating. But is that a usable crossing signal? And could you put 2 of these in parallel so you have one facing that way on the road and one, pretty easy. Okay, thank you. I'm glad you sat there. Okay, we'll put this over here. Questions? Okay. Every once in a while I like to digress because if you start to fall asleep, they taught me that in teacher school. All right, digression number 1. The 2 sensor crossing light control can easily be modified to make a safe crossing. I built this for a fellow recently. Let's say you've got 2 trains. One train is a main line. Let's see, it can be a loop, it doesn't matter. And it's going this way or this way, we don't care, right? And you've got, let's say you have a trolley or whatever going this way, across a 90-degree or 60-degree crossing, it doesn't matter. When the first sensor is hit, it kills the power to this and keeps the power off until it passes. And if you're careful about where you put your blocks and things, well, let me continue.